On a small hillside in New South Wales, Australia, stood two dilapidated caravans and several filthy blackened tents emitting a foul stench. The environment was appalling, yet shockingly, lived 38 men, women, and children from the same family in these squalid conditions, unable to distinguish their own lineage or identify their children. With police intervention, this half-century saga of familial depravity finally came to light. In July 2012, New South Wales Police received reports from locals about a strange family living on an outer hillside. The complainants stated the family never participated in community activities, lived in putrid conditions, and their children had never attended school. Most alarmingly, a child had mentioned her sister's pregnancy while being uncertain which brother was the father, prompting welfare concerns. Authorities immediately dispatched a joint police and child protection team to investigate. What they encountered was horrifying: a makeshift campsite with tents but no running water, bathrooms, or sanitation. The stench of excrement permeated the air while crusted cookware and rotting vegetables filled the locked fridge. Even a kangaroo was sleeping on the bed. Dozens of filthy individuals lay together indiscriminately inside the tents. The 38-member clan included malnourished children in rags, many with physical deformities, and intellectual disabilities from never receiving education or basic hygiene instruction. DNA samples were urgently collected for analysis. It wasn't until the DNA test results came out that they finally uncovered the reason behind the children's illnesses: deformities and intellectual disabilities caused by inbreeding. Turns out, this extended family had been practicing incest for half a century, propagating generation after generation in this grotesque manner. The case was so shocking that the Children's Court of New South Wales publicly released all details of the case. However, all children involved were referred to by pseudonyms. This 38-member incestuous family was named the Colt family. The first generation of the Colt family was a married couple: Tim, born in 1943, and June, born in 1948. They got married in 1966 and immigrated from New Zealand to Australia in the 1970s. Tim and his wife June had 7 children together, including their eldest daughter Rhonda. Shockingly, as the children grew up, Tim gradually encouraged his 3 daughters to engage in the relationships with him and their brothers. As a result, Tim's eldest daughter Rhonda bore 5 children with her own father. The 4th daughter, Betty, had 12 children after incestuous relations within the family. The youngest daughter, Martha, had 5 children with her own brother Charlie. When the next generation was born, the family heads, Tim and June, continued coercing them into incestuous relationships with other family members. Over time, the women in the family could no longer keep track of how many times they had relations with whom, let alone identify who the fathers of their children were. In this way, the family gradually expanded to 38 members, with relationships including grandparents, parents, children, uncles, aunts, nephews, siblings, and more. The familial ties were abnormally chaotic and convoluted, with all members engaging in various forms of relations with one another. Growing up in such a perverse environment, some children inevitably develop psychological issues. During police investigations, 5 boys in the family admitted to abusing animals. As for the unfortunate girls in the family, fearing suspicion, they dared not seek professional medical help even when pregnant. Instead, they secretly sought abortions on farms. If they had no choice but to give birth, they would claim the father was some backpacker who had come to Australia for work or travel. To avoid drawing attention, they couldn't stay in one place for long. Starting in the 1990s, the Colt family began frequently relocating, moving between South Australia, Western Australia, and Victoria before finally settling in New South Wales. To earn money and support the large family, the men sold firewood or took on odd jobs, while the other members rarely left the house. People in town had seen them but didn't know their names. No one ever heard laughter or playful noises from this family. The only impression they left was one of filth, disorder, and stench. In 2001, June passed away, followed by Tim in 2009. With the deaths of the founding couple, leadership of the Colt family fell to their daughter, Betty. They might have continued living in secrecy this way indefinitely, until a police report finally exposed the shocking truth about this family's history of incest. When the case first came to light, even the presiding judge was stunned, remarking that they had never encountered anything like it. Thus ended half a century of systematic abuse, and the innocent children were finally rescued. The 12 children born from inbreeding suffered severe consequences: intellectual disabilities, congenital deformities, vision and hearing impairments, and varying degrees of skin disease. 7-year-old Ruth was born with mutism and severe cognitive deformities, unable to bathe, brush his teeth, or use the toilet without assistance. 8-year-old Brian had hearing loss, strabismus, and could neither recognize numbers nor read. 15-year-old Bobby suffered from extreme psoriasis, had the learning capacity of a preschooler, and frequently wet the bed. To prevent history from repeating, local authorities took custody of all Colt family children. Those in relatively stable health were placed in foster homes for a fresh start. Others received hospitalization and professional psychotherapy to correct their unhealthy attitudes. After the children were removed, the adult members of the Colt family were dispersed across different regions of Australia. Police charged 8 individuals: Betty, Charlie, Rhonda, Frank, Martha, Derek, Cliff, and Raylene. The police initially filed nearly 80 charges against the 8 individuals, including incest, child abuse, and indecent acts with children. However, due to lack of evidence, many of these charges were ultimately dropped. During the trial, Petra, a 4th-generation member of the Colt family, courageously came forward. She accused her uncle Frank of assaulting her in 2010, when she was just 17 years old. Petra stated that on that day, after arguing with her mother, she chose to run away from home. But as she passed by a bush, something unexpected happened. Frank, who had been hiding in the bushes, suddenly jumped out, threw her onto the back seat of a car parked by the roadside. He tore off her clothes, threw them out the window, and forcibly violated her. In the end, the judge found Frank guilty of assaulting Petra. He was sentenced to a maximum of 4 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for 2 years and 4 months. The family matriarch Betty was sentenced to 9 months in prison. In 2013, after the children were removed, Betty even attempted to kidnap her 16-year-old son Bobby and 15-year-old Billy from the foster homes. She wanted to take them to South Australia to live with her as fruit pickers. Some older Colt family members also tried contacting the children via Facebook, but all attempts were successfully blocked by court orders. Doctors caring for the children observed that they initially displayed signs of conditioned behavior, exhibiting sexualized actions toward each other or their caregivers. These were scars left by their traumatic past, but fortunately, such behaviors gradually improved over time. Had they remained in that hellish family, these children might have grown into replicas of their elders. As recently as 2018, matriarch Betty posted a photo on Facebook with 2 female relatives, captioned, "Love made us a family." Clearly, Betty, poisoned by this twisted ideology, had long fallen into an abyss beyond redemption. As Petra noted, the entire family operated like a horrifying cult, where moral boundaries didn't exist. Aunts, uncles, and siblings slept together freely without consequence. The leaders themselves were victims of this cycle, raised with warped values. They lost the ability to discern right from wrong, becoming mere conduits of generational trauma. Without police intervention, it's terrifying to imagine how many more generations would have been crushed under this monstrous legacy. May such darkness never repeat itself in history, and may the innocent children of the Colt family break free from the shadows of their past, to heal, to grow, and to reclaim the ordinary lives they deserve. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this case, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow Case Diaries. There are plenty more cases coming your way. Got thoughts on today's story? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. See you in the next one.